What's good, everybody? And welcome back to Left Lane Chronicles, the show where we talk motorcycles, brotherhood, freedom, and stories that keep us twisting that throttle. Tonight's episode is special because we've got a rider who proves that motorcycles are about way more than just chrome and horsepower. This man rides with purpose. He's taken his mission across state lines, across this country, and through communities everywhere, not just for the love of the road, but to give back and change lives through charity. When most people ride for themselves, this man rides for something bigger. Tonight, we welcome a rider whose journey is measured not in miles, but in impact. Everybody show love for Marky Mark. Thank you for coming on.
What's up? What's up, everybody? Thank you for the intro.
Hey, no problem, no problem. So before we dive into anything deeper, let's start from the beginning. Who is Marky Mark beyond the motorcycle?
Beyond what? That's a good question. Okay. Well, I'm a husband and and a father. So I've got two kids and happily married because everyone asks me that question. How in the world are you married, single? You're on the road for a long period. I mean, you can relate. So yes, happily married to my wife, and I'm a research scientist. Work for a big pharma in here in Connecticut. Been doing that for almost 24, 25 years now. And yeah, I got a little bit of a geek side into me, but a little bit of a little bit of a wild side, I guess, if you want to call it that. My wife kind of chuckles at me about that because I'm not that typical tough guy, but I do enjoy the spirit of getting out on the road and seeing things and everything like that. So, but aside from that, like to hike, go do a little bit of sports, hiking and exploring, boating, you name it. And and I get involved with my community, our local town in the center of central Connecticut. I served on the town council for a little bit, and I also served as a leader for the kids for the Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. So my son was in it for a long period of time, and I like that. I like that giving back to the community and that sense of philanthropy and charitable piece of it. I've always had that. My wife as well. We try and get involved as a family. And yeah. Man, that's what I do. I kind of tinker with a little. I like to fix things. I try to fix things. I like to tinker a little
Yeah.
bit. Um, but things like that. So I've
Okay.
never been I've never been so I moved sorry so sometimes people can get my accent, but I'm originally from New York, and I moved to Connecticut about 24 years ago or so, but I always go back. I have lots of family there and everything, and so yeah, there you
Okay.
go. Yeah.
So will you say that coming from New York, that kind of helped shaped the man that you've become?
Uh, yeah, over time, I would say over time, um, I've kind of learned over time, what's driving me to do things like whether if it's like, with the community or um, shape me as a father, as a dad, and a friend and my best friend, my wife, and and all my other friends. I think it's who you're with, like who you hang out with. The upbringing is important, I would say, like your family and everything. I've always had to work for what I had and still want. So it's so it's that kind of stuff. I've instilled that with our kids, and a sense of pride, and the things that you own are important to you, and you care for them and everything. So I kind of treat that in things that I do every day in life. um, and I think that kind of helped me just being kind and okay. Yeah, I do have a sarcastic side to me, and I can be a bit of an a-hole sometimes. I will. That's my New Yorker coming out sometimes, and that's okay. I guess we all have that. But I am driven, quite driven, and I'm pretty competitive in whatever I do. I always go all out. I don't have. I was just
I'll just
explaining this with
explain this to
someone
someone.
earlier. I was like, I either have like a 10% or I have like a 95% mode, and that's just wherever whatever I'm doing, whether if it's for charity events, soup kitchen, helping some Habitat for Humanity or something like that with work or with friends, or with the scouts, for example. I always put my heart into it and everything. Like my family's involved in it. I get involved in it. I lead by example. Um, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. If I don't know something, I will always ask, or I will try it. And that's kind of like what gravitated me towards doing something as crazy as like the whole hey motorcycle challenge. But I have lots of those type of examples of what we do, and I'm sure you do too. Your upbringing and how you guys started with the podcast and your family and everything too. So it's I think it's being rooted like that is important. Sets you
Yeah,
as a father, as a man, as a person, and you know your legacy, if you want to call it that. So
I totally agree with that.
yeah.
Because my upbringing was very like strict. Um, my dad was a very strict guy.
Hmm.
Most of my family is like military background, so a lot of it was structured, pretty structured for the most part. Um, Sometimes it was pretty tough on it was pretty tough on us, but I feel like by them being that way, it kind of showed me a different side of life. Where I can be more um, adaptive, in tough situations and the way life,
Hmm.
cares on, comes at you. So I can definitely understand how upbringing, can affect the way you move, later on in life. And I try
Yeah.
to instill those being a father myself. I try to instill some of those values, those core values, that was instilled in me into my kids as well. So I totally get it, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's important, if you think about it, it's as simple as like, the it's funny, it's like you go back, and everyone's like, oh my God, you led this town Cub Scout, like 45 kids, and that's probably like, I'm gonna tell you, I've done interviews, I've done presentations for work for big projects, right? That is the hardest talking in front of kids and getting their attention and like and just giving a speech in front of 45 kids. There's just maybe 10 kids if you want to call it that. But I found that was probably the biggest challenge. And that
Yeah,
was I did it for my kids. My kid was there, my wife was there because she was helping out, and my daughter was there. And let me tell you, I'm like, I'm just gonna do it because I'm gonna challenge myself and put myself out of my element. I mean, because being a scientist, we're kind of like locked up in a lab sometimes, but I'm beyond that now. But it puts you out of that comfort zone, and I kind of always remember like okay, integrity, honesty, be kind, be truthful, and those things like kind of like emanate out of everything that you do every day. And that's kind of what my parents did too. My parents old school, first generation. I'm first generation here in the United States, and they're all come from the old country of like in Italy, and it's upbringing. And so my grandparents and uncle were in military as well, but I never went. But I support them big time for what they do, and I understand all the sacrifice that veterans and current active military people still do. To keep us what we're doing today. And I try and instill that with my family, and everything. So I know
yeah,
it's important. The upbringing
yeah,
is important. Yeah.
definitely. So, um, when did motorcycles first
Mm.
become part of your life?
Nah, that's a good one. Yeah, I've always liked bicycles, right? When I was a kid, like any other kid, right? Um,
Yeah.
it wasn't until like I first saw my first like go kart race at like a dirt track, and I remember I say New York, but I lived in upstate New York. I call upstate, but it's like maybe now if I look at a map, it's like halfway in New York, halfway New York State. But I call upstate. It was upstate to me. And there's a couple dirt tracks there, and I was always fascinated by speed, and always fascinated by like go karts, mini go karts, and I
Yeah.
kind of built one when I was a kid, with my dad, and then we built this. Then I had a bike, and then we put a lawnmower engine into into the bike to make like a motorcycle. 'Cause then I wanted something like that. And then it wasn't until I got, I was putzing around. We had a big backyard that I was, pretending to drive and pretending to, learning how to drive and learning how to ride and on the tractor and whatnot. And then motorcycle, then that bike that I had made, this, what I call it, a chopper, I don't know, but it was very loosely. And then eventually, it wasn't until, I want to say, about 15 years ago now. I had gotten a, Honda Shadow as my first bike, and then from there, I wanted something a bit more. I don't know, mm, more speed. I guess you want to call it. I don't know. It was a very old one, but I
Yeah.
liked it. I did the endorsement on a Rebel. I think it was. Yeah, it was a Rebel. I liked that too, but I couldn't see myself going all over the place in Connecticut and driving down to Connecticut on across the bridge with that. I know people do, but so I wanted something a bit more, and that's when I went from a Honda Shadow to a Vegas, a Victory Vegas, and then I fell in love with the platform, with the Victory platform, and it wasn't until I went to Laconia 1 year, and I demoed when Victory was still around, and that's when I got introduced to the cross country. And I've had two or three, and I still have one as well, aside from the road glide. So I've always been on the Victory cross country platform for I want to say 10 plus years now. Love it. I tell people I sit in it, not on it, and it represents much more like a street glide feel for, if you want to call it the Harley franchise. Um, and um, and then I just picked up a road glide in October, just this past October, my first Harley, and
Okay.
yeah, it's very different, but in a good way.
Yeah, road glides are definitely they're definitely a great platform for me. That's what I have a road glide
Did you
2023 special.
did you always been on the Harley platform or a road glide?
No, so I started out in sport bikes. My first I
Cool.
started out well when I was a kid. I would ride like the scooters and then the little mini crotch rockets with my friends, and then I ended up as I got older and I joined the Marine Corps. My first bike I bought with my own money was a 2008 Kawasaki ZX6R,
Cool.
and it was like a special edition for the fairing. And I rode that bike, loved that bike, got it tuned up and everything, and then um, an issue happened with my ex-wife where a certain situation, and then I ended up having to sell my bike because of that situation. So
Mhm.
after that, I was off riding for like I want to say two, maybe like a few years, 3 or 4 years, and then getting back into riding, I went straight to buying a Harley Road Glide. So that right there was my first. This is my first Harley, and I'm loving it. So
How did you find that transition?
um well with the Road Glide, it wasn't too bad because it is
Mhm.
a fixed fairing, and
Okay.
I'm used to that because sport bikes are fixed.
Okay.
And I will say the only big difference for me was the weight of the bike.
Mhm.
Especially coming off a sport bike, they're way lighter,
Yeah.
way more nimble. Um, but once you get the road glide moving, you could throw that thing around. So
Yeah.
it wasn't too bad for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely learning curve,
I'm
but
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. I mean, the cross country is heavy too. I mean, about the same, almost the same. It's just I'm getting used to the fixed fairing, the the perception. Like the I don't know how to say it. Like I'm looking for the lights to move with the fairing because I'm so used to that. So it's a little different for me, but it's okay. It's just once you start writing and you get in there, you'll get used to it, I guess. But I'm getting used to it and putting myself in there to get used to it. So you know,
so so speaking of riding, what was that moment when riding became more than just a hobby for you?
ah, yeah, yeah. This is a good one, actually. Um, it kind of started in a way where it really didn't hit home for me until I want to say about a year ago. And where like I'm all in with the way that I'm writing. Before that, I was kind of dipping and diving into like pieces of it's more than just a poker run. It's more than just writing. It kind of like almost like in COVID in a way, almost did that to me. Um, you know, in a way where we had a couple local chapters and couple local groups here in Connecticut that kind of did things for kids, bikers for birthdays, I think it's called, or bikers for birthdays for no bikers for birthdays. And one of my good friends kind of like led it in a way, and it wasn't until like I attended a couple of these things for these kids. These kids are out there, they're stuck home, they can't go out, and they're having their birthdays, and they just wanted something. And we, a bunch of us would go all over the state for kids that would come to this Facebook page and say, hey, or their parents would, and they would say, hey, my so and so's daughter or son is having a birthday, and he's 5 or 6, and we're stuck home. What can we do anything? He loves motorcycles, and that kind of like went from there to, okay, we're going to contact the police department, the fire department, and get some trucks, maybe it's construction worker trucks and stuff like that, and we'll do
Yeah.
like a big parade to go down their streets, and they're out there and they're waving, and we get a parade of bikes coming, but all these other cars and everything, right? And it's just that one moment that, like, you get by and you see that kid. Yeah, that parade maybe goes for like 30 seconds, it's gone, but it's taken a lot of time to put together. um and it was that moment where I saw, I'm like, oh yeah, I like doing that. I felt had a sense of joy doing that, with something that I like to do. I like to ride, and I like to doing that. I like doing that. So I kind of gravitate more to do those type of things. Rarely do you see me go on a poker run just for the hell of it, or just you know whatever. I mean, I do. I mean, I've got friends like we just want to go to the brewery or pick up something or whatever it is. Yeah, sure, no big deal.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a long distance thing all the time. But I gravitate to things that, if it's going to help somebody, and it wasn't until then, I got caught on to a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, with the Hoka for 24, and I was following a few people on the Hoka tracker, and that's when I kind of fell. I got introduced to Mile Monsters through one of the founders of Mile Monsters, was Riot, and then also through the K Solo podcast. And that's kind of like how I then got introduced to Mile Monsters, and then I saw what they were doing, and I'm like, holy moly, this is exactly what I want to do. I taken trips, long distance trips before. I mean, its majority is made up of long distance riders, right? But we also have people who don't ride, but they translate their walking into miles for fundraising.
Yeah.
So it really is, you could be a monster through writing or a monster through however you want to do your miles through, but they're really to help the kids that we're supporting. So I fell in love with that concept because then I went to the website, checked them all out. I was like, oh yeah, this is, how did I not know about this? And that's kind of like, and then I just got involved. Then one of their first events that I was exposed to was the geo hunt, and that was basically going and look for these little geocaches, if familiar with those, all around the United States. This one guy, Riot, he had planted all these around the country as he was doing a lot of these other tours for these kids. And and it's, he's done it, but he also has a team of people. But we monsters riders, we're a team of people all over the country, and we would get together and ride to help them or whatever it is, or whatever we're doing. um and so he was planning them all over, maybe someone knew, but I don't know. He was doing them as he was writing. And then he made a big event of that, and that fundraising went to go help, either for van or medical assistance activities, or to get a kid from the UK to United States. So these are, we like to call it like, it's like make a wish without all the bullshit, and sorry, without all the red tape.
Yeah.
And that's I kind of like that. And and I have that passion. I can ride, and at the same time I see where my hard work is going to help. They're helping these kids. So that's how I got involved, and I got deeply involved with the geo hunt. Those who know. And then a lot of the coins that I had found, I had donated them back to the kids. Yeah.
And
So
so, you
that's kind of
know,
like how I got into it. Really, if you think about it, I Mile Monsters kind of like solidified it for me, that that's what I want to do. And I try and get my family involved in it as well. So it's not just me, because it takes time away from me, my work, my own time, and my family's time when I'm out alone. We try and make it a family event when we can. So yeah.
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 And I know a lot of people ride because, like they love the machine, but you ride with a bigger mission. Um, what inspired you to connect riding with charity work?
Yeah. I would say when I saw the story, well, not just one story. There's seven stories, but there's a lot of mini chapters in these stories, in these books, for these seven kids: Jackson, Turbo, Jack, Drew, Brody, Gavin, Alfie. These seven boys. When you hear their story, you see the videos that is posted on Mile Monsters. That about these kids, and how the little things that we would do, whether if going to visit or helping the family out with, building a driveway, or helping them with, things in their house or whatever it is. It could be something small, just maybe just a visit, just saying, hey, I just want to say hi, or whatever it is, or take a picture with them, right? Because they're the heroes. We call them the heroes. Um, Hearing their story, and then visiting them, uh, uh, you know, it's one thing to see and say, "Oh, I ride for my monsters, and I ride for these seven kids." Uh, Now you show up and you visit them, and you see how the disease impacts their family, impacts their life, not just the kid, but also mom, dad, and siblings. And you kind of like put back, like, you think you've got it bad, right? These kids, they don't have a choice to wake up every day. I've got a choice to, change or whatever. Oh, I'm not going to go to work, whatever. Or I'm sick, whatever. No, they still have to fight through it. And it's those stories, and seeing it. and however way I can contribute. That's why I've decided to deep dive into the charitable piece and ride for a little bit more, than just, hey, I got a cool bike, or hey, I can do that too, or whatever, right? Um, yeah, I can still do that. I can still challenge myself. And it's not just me. We talk about me, but we have, like, just for example, like the Hoka, hey, we have 54, 55 riders from Mile Monsters, all doing the same thing. We're all writing for the charity. We're writing for these kids. I'm just one, and I have no problem going on a platform to talk about it. But I hope to inspire others to, either join or to ride like that for a charity maybe that you're passionate about. That's why I give the messaging. I think it's good, and it helps. It gives you a good cleanse inside of you that you're doing something good, and I really enjoy it. That's kind of like how I sum it up in a way.
And before we continue, I do
Yeah.
have a video here that about one of the charities or that you're riding for. Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. That brought back
So,
some memories. That's good. that
so I guess
was
was
that was Geo Hunt.
was there like any like personal moments that pushed you towards towards this?
Yeah, yeah, that I'm sorry. I'm remembering a few moments, because halfway on a couple of those trips, I had a lot of bike bike malfunctions. But yeah, that was about a total of 17,000 miles in geo hunting miles, spanning from uh, uh, Canada, parts of Quebec, all the way down to Tallahassee, and I think as far out west as, I only made it out to around Kentucky. Um, but yeah, I was all over the place. Basically east of the Mississippi. I was kind of like hunting for these geocoins that were planted in the ground. But there was a moment, where, well, actually, there were two moments. The first moment was, no, I'm sorry. There's three moments, that there are distinct moments. I'm sorry, that I have to bring up, because it kind of taught me more about myself. Uh, Four moments that taught me about myself, and things that I needed to push through. Um, so the first moment was when I went out to Ohio. So there was a clip in there that was, what you saw, a bunch of ox or cattle, longhorn cattle, in the clip. That was actually out in Ohio, and I was a lot of people had trouble finding this particular geocoin there, and I decided to just go on a whim and just go see, because I don't like, I can't take no for an answer, so I'm gonna go hunt it. And just because someone didn't find it, they're either gonna mark it as yellow and say, okay, well, it's unfound, let's move on, right? Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go find it. You know, it's maybe there are things that I can go look for or whatever it is. Anyway, I decided to do that. I get stuck in Pennsylvania. I get a blowout on my rear tire, and it was like 5 o'clock in the morning when I was going through Pennsylvania, and I was stuck in the middle of nowhere, dead center, and I couldn't find any. And I'm on my Victory, so you know, I know what size Harley tire would fit on it. And I know only a garage would do something like that for me. Like no Indian shop would do it for me like that. And Harley shop didn't even want to work on it for me. So it was, and then one of the monsters from Mile Monster was tracking me, and her name is Selena, and she, like, you know, she saw that I stopped, and she saw that I was there for a while in the middle of this gas station, and she asked if I was okay, and again, I had no idea who this person was, because, like, you know, I just started hunting, and she kind of like she pinged me, and she's like, hey, and then, you know, she got a hold of me, she called me, and it was actually, it was good to hear that moment. Somebody was there, and I was doing something for the charity, and it was nice that someone was watching, and someone, I could have relied on it. And that was like, that was my first moment where I didn't have anybody around. I usually ride with a group of people up until that point. I mean, I've done a couple solo things, but nothing too extreme. um and um and it wasn't, that was my first experience where I was trying to, I realized that, okay, I needed certain types of coverage, tire coverage or tow package towing and things like that. But fortunately, I was able to, you know, get through that by finding a local garage to help me out. Um, but it was nice to have Selena, and she may be watching or not, but it was nice to have her. Yeah, it was nice to have her as a fellow monster watching over me. And then a couple other rides. I was stuck in South Carolina and Hicksville. I'll never forget it. Hicksville, South Carolina, and I was my clutch was going. I was actually coming back home. I was coming back from Tallahassee to because I found another coin there, um, and I was gonna go to Kentucky for what they call the Hokahay Rendezvous. It's a biannual thing that happens. And I wanted to go there because I wanted to visit people and everything like that. So my intent was to go there on my way down to Florida. And then one of our heroes was kind of posted something online. The mom posted something online that they didn't have a really good experience at one of these state fairs in Texas. And it kind of, it hit me, I do have a soft spot for kids, and I have soft spot for things like that. And you know, he wasn't treated right, let's just say this. And a lot of other monsters kind of stepped up to try and, you know, try and figure out what happened, and with this particular vendor at this state fair, a hole. Anyway, and I decided, instead of going to the rendezvous to Kentucky right away from Connecticut, that I was going to go straight down to Florida and grab this coin at this. It's called Fun to Dive, and it's an event where you can swim with manatees. And one of our heroes did that one year with other monsters. I wasn't around for that. And that's the cool shit. That's the cool stuff that we do for these kids. You know, we make that happen. And so you know, I figured out where that coin was. It was at this particular place where they were. And I decided I'm gonna go get that coin for him. So I made it all the way down to Florida. Instead of going to the rendezvous to meet up with everybody, and I decided, okay, maybe I'll go. I got it. You know, sent a little video to his mom and to all of our monsters, and that mission's accomplished, and this one's for you. And I did that because I wanted to just to trim up a little bit. That's the kind of stuff that I like to do. It's just the way I am. And on my way home, my clutch started to burn out on my Victory. and and that's where I kind of like I stopped at Hicksville, and I was trying to sort out where what I was going to do, or things like that. And I had two really good friends back in Connecticut. His name is Doug, and Bill. Um, and both of them offered. They were up in Laconia at that time. I think I can't remember. They were at a rally at that time, and they were like, "Listen, we'll go get our toy hauler. We'll come get you, man. Whatever you need, you just tell me." I'm like, I can't do that. So like, I was gonna, I started like looking at like a U-Haul and or maybe okay, I kind of decided, all right, what am I going to do? It's a Saturday, or yeah, I think it was a Saturday. I can't remember what day it was, but I decided to just haul all the way back north in third gear, second and third gear, all the way from South Carolina back to Connecticut. And that was my time, and my other time was getting into Canada, where it was my second time into Canada with the bike. There's a
Before
coin there, and I wanted to get it.
before you continue, I do
Yeah.
want to give a shout out to those in the comments. I don't want them to think that we're not paying attention to them as well. But
Oh,
to
cool.
Selena and D Hoyt, thank you all for commenting. Make sure you like, subscribe for more content. Um, Also for Selena, let's give her a round of applause for pulling through for you, and also being on and supporting the channel tonight.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah. The other time was when I was heading over to Quebec. That was one of those moments where I was second guessing myself, because I had so many issues with my bike at that point. Clutch, burning, rectifier, you name it. Everything was happening every month. And I crossed that border, and I was like, can I do this? What if I get 100? It was 120 miles in over the border that I had to go. And to this one park, I had no idea. That park was where the Adirondack chairs in that video clip. Beautiful, beautiful park of scenery. If anyone ever gets out there in it's Quebec. But anyway, it wasn't until I talked to my friend Doug and my wife, and I'm like, all right, I don't know what I'm gonna do. What if I get stuck here? What do I do? How do I get across the border? Like, you don't think about these things, right? People are like, oh, I'm gonna go to the Cabot Trail. Oh, I'm gonna go do this thing cross. I'm gonna go to Niagara Falls, cross the border. Okay, but what happens if you get stuck? Then you got to cross, you got to get over, right? So there's a lot of things that was running through my mind, and I kind of like just had to. I have sometimes just to talk it out with some people, with someone I'm close with or whatever. And then once I kind of like talk it out, I gain that courage, and then I just try it. And I'm glad I did, because I felt really good. Once I did that, I did it again and again and again. Well, I think I crossed the border 6 times in one day, for one event that I did. And I never, so that one time gave me that strength to go ahead and do certain things the way that I do. Um, I mean, that sometimes, maybe that's why I think Riot had called me Crazy Connecticut. I do crazy stuff, but I'm driven by a higher thing, and I look at it that way. You know, So, my fourth was an accident that I had in Iowa. That was my second motorcycle accident, and I was in the middle of nowhere, cornfield, gravel road, and my bike did a 180, and I went over the handlebars and into a cornfield. And I'm glad I had all my gear on. But I had no cell. I had cell service, but it was really low. But everything. I mean, I had my auxiliary tank, everything. My bike was. I don't know how I got it up. It's that was a moment of holy crap. I had called at that time I started talking a lot to Chris Hopper, and he's a fellow monster, but also pretty pretty up there with terms of long distance riding, and he kind of like he kind of talked me through it, and then and it was good. It was good to have that because someone who's out there that doing that, it felt assuring that you're going to get through it. Don't worry. And when I spoke to Riot, another long distance, legend as well, and he's like, listen, it's going to hurt you in the morning. It did, but you try and get at it, and I felt that I just needed to get back on the bike after I got it upright, composure, and then move on. That I think all those things, yeah, because after that I got on the bike and I rode to the hotel, and my wife's like, you better stay at a hotel, don't do anything crazy, and I'm like, all right, fine, I will. So I stayed at the hotel, but then the following day I went to go to Canada because I wanted to achieve a goal. I don't know why I did that, but I just did it. But
Why
anyway,
why
yeah, I just crazy. But all those things, going back to your question, all those things kind of shaped me into the writer and the person that I'm become, or where that I want to be. And it's just helping me get to where I need to get to, personal challenges, personal goals. Um, Confidence is important, and knowing, you ride your ride, but you know your limits too. You hear of that in like motorcycle class, but it's true. Like you ride within your limits. You don't need to do triple digits. It is, you don't need to. um but you have to know, especially when you do endurance runs, what you need for your body, and everything else, and I would say, like, I'm a baby compared to some of these other people who other riders who go, 100,000 miles or 200,000 miles a year. These guys are people that I look at, I look at as like, oh wow, maybe one day I can do that when I retire. But that's still that the athleticism behind that, and what they do to prepare for that, is a lot. So I have great respect for those type of folks who can ride that way, because I like to one day to do that. When when situation for my life turns into when I get to that spot in my lifetime that I can do that, then that's what I would like to do. But everyone's at a different point in their life, and that's something that I had to learn too. Not everybody can do what folks are doing. You don't need to do that. And I always felt that maybe, when I first joined Mile Monsters, I actually thought that maybe I had to be doing all this stuff just so I could fit in, I guess, if you want to say it that way.
yeah,
Um, but I quickly learned that it's not about that. And that's when halfway through, like, I found, like, maybe I think 15 or 17 geocoins, right? But it wasn't until maybe the fifth one when I realized that it's really about the kids. I'm fundraising. Like, I can look at something, I can figure out where that is, and then go get it. But the point is to try and fundraise so this child can get this, and this. If I go grab it because I know where it is, or I know what it is, it defeats the purpose, and it wasn't until maybe like the third or fourth one that I started doing it. I'm like, something, okay, I'm gonna make this interesting. So now I think folks know me to come up with, unusual ways to fundraise for certain things. But I put my spin on it. I put the Marky Mark spin on it,
yeah.
and I have fun with it. So that's kind of like, what I've been doing.
So, so speaking of crossing state lines,
Yep.
um, how many states have you ridden through?
Oh my God. Um. So everything east of Mississippi, I've been through all of them. Um. And I've been out to the Texas, Oklahoma. Let's see, Oklahoma. I've been out to Utah. I forgot about Utah. and Nash. See, yeah, I it's been quite a few. Where I haven't hit has been mm, basically the West Coast, so the Pacific
Okay.
side of United States. Hawaii, of course. Maybe I'll get there. I'll rent a bike. Uh, I have no problem doing that. Um, but I have, yeah, that I would say it's more on the West Coast, and it's just a matter of it's timing for me with work. I a very busy work schedule, and
Yeah.
then my kids are on the younger side, so it's hard to just take off and just go. Um, but I have no problem, getting out there and renting a bike and doing stuff like that. And maybe that's something that I can do. But I would have to plan for that.
And what would you say was the toughest road conditions you faced?
Yeah. Uh, 5.5 inches of just milled gravel. That's a pain in
Oh.
the ass. Yeah. So that is, yeah, about a mile and a half of that is pretty intense. And the last time, so I thought I had it down pack. When we were up in the Cabot Trail with a few of us, Doug in particular, my friend Doug and we decided to get up to the Cabot Trail. Um, and Mike and Beth. Um, we hit um, the northern part of Nova Scotia. This road was completely gravel. It wasn't like deep gravel, but it was not unpaved. And it was like that in a different country for I want to say, oh my god. So it's this part of Nova Scotia. It's I want to say it's maybe about 3 or 4 miles long, and then at the end of it, you go across this wooden bridge, and the planks on the bridge are all freaking broken. So it was real sketchy, and I don't know if I captured that in one of my pictures, but it was by far. We all, I mean, I took a picture. We all have like our middle fingers up in this picture because we're like, what the hell is this road that we were just on? And we couldn't turn around. And then we ended up on this on this bridge with wooden planks, and the last 3 or 4 boards at the other end were gone. They were broken. They were off the nails. And I'm like, I took a picture of that. Of course, I'm gonna get off the bike. I'm gonna take a picture that we just did this. Um, didn't send it to my wife because she'll probably curse at me from back home. But it's that was a difficult time. At the end of that, it probably can relate to your motocross days. I definitely got certified in motocross and dirt bike riding after that. And I thought I had that when I went to Iowa to get a picture of the Iron Butt sign. And no, no, the deeper it is, it's a lot more challenging. And I just hit a bad spot in the road. That's all, I guess. So that's the worst. The worst constraint thing is a deep gravel.
So next question will be, how do you mentally prepare for those huge rides?
For the
And
long
what
rides. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And go ahead. What and what?
And um what is your must-have gear?
Ah. Okay. One of my must. I'll start from that. One of my must-have gear is definitely the Wild Ass seat. I've got a Wild Ass seat cushion. So if you don't know what that is, go to wildass.com. If you use Marky Mark, you get a 10. I think no, you get a free shipping, maybe
Okay.
10% off. I don't know. But anyway, the Wild Ass is a game changer. A lot of the long distance riders they use this. There's other variations on the market, but this is tried, tested, and true for hundreds and hundreds of thousand miles for some of these world record breaking events, rides that you hear about from these folks. They're all riding on a Wild Ass. So that's my number one. And then two would be on the bike would be my suspension. Got to have a good suspension. So how I mentally prepare. So it's hard to say that. I kind of I'm a scout, so I like to prepare as much as I can, the best that I can. So my bike is always, I double check all my stuff on my bike, and then, I try and, try not to work myself up to where I'm constantly thinking about it, because I will. By trade and by how I am in my brain, I like to think the shit out of something, and I will look at every single nook and cranny how to troubleshoot, and I will figure it out. Like it's just the way I am. I mean, because I work in research, I need to do that kind of stuff at a molecular level. Now I can do that. I can take that same template and apply it to anything that I do on. But I apply that to, like, when I go to long distance, my long distance rides, if you want to call it. I do the same thing. I mentally prepare what things I need, what could go wrong, what things can I do proactively. That settles my brain. That's the way I think.
Yeah.
And then I feed my brain. I feed my body. I always make sure I keep that intact. So, nutrition is important. So I know what sort of things I need to eat on a hourly or bi-hourly, or whatever it is. So that helps me keep me mentally alert. And you also know, when you need to sleep and things like that. Like, I know my sleep schedule, and I know my limits. When the clouds start talking back to you, you've got limits. You have to know that. If you don't know that, then you don't know, you're kind of going in blind. So you got to know, like, your limits. I think it's important. And depending on what it is, because not everyone's going to want to do like a saddle sore, or uh like a rally, like a competitive type of style thing. Some people just want to go for like a long distance ride to, like, Outer Banks, for example, right? um from here, from Connecticut. That's not a big deal. 12, 10, 12 hours, whatever it is. It's you're thinking about it and get yourself all hyped up and everything. But good night's sleep if you can, and then make sure you are well balanced in nutrition and everything. What about you? I know you do some long distance riding too. Like, what sort of things that you try and ease your brain, so you don't think about all the crazies out there as well.
Um, Honestly, I would say I don't really mentally. I just know that I'm excited to go to somewhere new. So I wouldn't say that I do anything special, ritual type things to help me mentally prepare. Uh, I guess that's just based off come from, like, being in the core. You kind of just roll with the punches. You have your
Hmm.
plan set, and as long as you know that you're going to stick to that plan, I kind of just know that, okay, if I got something set, then that's what I'm sticking to. So I guess you
Yeah.
could say that's what I do to mentally prepare. I make sure that I have my stops in order, and because I hate going into anything, like, especially like riding wise, like long trips without a plan, because I wanna know that, hey, this is where I'm stopping, this is how far I'm going, and I get my
Yeah.
mind set for those milestones throughout the trip.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, and I have another question for you. Um,
All right.
when people hear Marky Mark's name 20 years from now, what do you hope they remember?
Hmm. Oh, jeez. um I hope they remember my kindness, and and that whatever I'm doing, and whatever I'm doing, that I mean well, and it comes from the heart. That's, I say, kindness, meaning well, and from the heart. And um, I hope to leave that legacy with my family and my kids, and I hope that they use that moving forward. Don't give up. Always try and push a little bit more, um, and do it with integrity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that kind of sums it all up in a way. And it's not just one word. It's hard to put into one word.
So, is there any upcoming charity rides or future projects that people should know about?
Oh, I've got a few. Oh yeah. Yeah. Um, so let's see. This is May. Yeah, May. So May, I'm gonna miss. There's a really cool birthday ride for Jackson in Virginia. Unfortunately, I'm gonna miss that. I've got some family that I need to take care of this coming weekend. So it kind of changed things for me. But anyway, I was going to head. I was going to be. It was a surprise. I was going to surprise them on Saturday. So anyway, I've got something called the Monster 250, which is something that's happening in June. It's the birthday. It's the birth of 250th birth of the United States, and Mile Monsters has put together a little charitable event where we riders, you sign up for a state or more, and you ride 250 miles in that state, to be for charity and for fundraising. Um, and so I decided to do, I think it's 8 states, all basically New England. And I'm going to do 250 miles in each of one of the states. It should equal out to 1,776 miles, so 1776. Um, and that is I'm going to do that in 24 or under 30 hours is what I'm aiming for. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to hit a couple of the Tour of Honor because I also do Tour of Honor. I'm gonna hit a couple of Tour of Honor sites, and maybe some War Dogs, and a couple Harley dealerships on the way. Um, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do that the week of Father's Day weekend, I believe, is when it kicks off. So we've got 3 days to do this, and everyone across the country, all monsters, and anyone who wants to sign up to do it, you can do it. I think it's $25 to sign up for it, and that's that. You know, it's a really cool event. And then after that, I've got I'm going to take it a little easy after June. July is going to be more about, for me, it's going to be about changing my eating habits, and well, not changing it, but like, getting my body used to the new my eating habits that I'm going to be doing for the Hokahay in August. And that's what's going to happen in July. I'm going to be practicing more of that. I have been doing that on my rides. That every ride that I do, I multitask, and I test certain things, gear, eating, you name it, everything. So now July is going to be the month where I kind of get my body used to it. So this way, it's not a total shock come August, and it won't be. But it's just the way I'm going to do it. So August 2nd is the Hoka Hay, and that's now they moved from 10. It's going to be 11,000 miles. Across the country. And again, I'm doing a fundraiser call. My fundraiser, if you go to markymarkhokahay.com, 2026hokahay.com, you'll see a button there for pledge penny for a mile. Um, and people say 10 days, but however long it takes you to do whatever.
Oh,
So if I do about 1,000 miles a day, then that's $10 that you pledge. So it's a small amount, but if you get a lot more people to sign up for it, hey, every little bit helps. And it gets the word out about the organization and the non-for-profit organization, and also more people aware. It's a kind of grassroots way of doing it. And so that's my way of contributing for to the Hokahay, and all that money is going to go towards buying a van for Brody. Brody needs a new van, I believe. So that's where that money is going to. So that's how I'm doing it. So if you want to learn more about that piece, just click on the button for pledge for the Hokahay, a penny a mile. That's all I'm asking. And you can do one day, or you can be out all you can do all the days, and it's real time. So as I finish my day, 24 hours or 30 hours, whatever it takes, at 24 hours I clock whatever is on my odometer, and it gets uploaded onto a SharePoint, and it gets posted onto the website real time. And as well as we're tracked, so you can see exactly where I am. Um, and so that, at the end of that day, you'll know exactly how much you would need to donate to the Give Butter, which is all going straight to the charity, not to me. And that's how much. It could be $8, or it can be $10, or it can be $11 if I'm 1,100 miles. So that's the way that's how I decided to run it this time. Just so it's not so complicated while I'm on my ride. And this is my first time as a Hoka Hay rider. So that's the reason why I did that. So those are the major things. I have a couple other rides, like, I want to get down to Tail of the Dragon, and a couple. I want to get out to Superman statue out in Indianapolis, I think it is. Um, so there's a cute few things that I want to do. 'Cause I just came back from Key West, so I want to do that. So at some point I'm gonna do it. So I'll get there
Okay.
before July.
Well, Marky Mark, we appreciate you pulling up to the Left Lane Chronicles and showing people that riding can be bigger than ourselves. You're proving that motorcycles aren't just about the destination; they're about the impact that we make along the way. To everybody watching, ride with purpose, ride with passion, and never forget why you started. This is Left Lane Chronicles, and as always, keep them twos down. You heard, and we are out.
Thank you. Have a good one.